Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. Are you guys excited about Hearthstone? Well, you better prepare to be, because we have some of the craziest news. We have the biggest balance patch and everything update coming our way this year in Hearthstone. I knew Hearthstone would have great things this year because the main issue with Standard, which is what everyone basically judges the game by, was going to get some big change regardless, as the last three sets, all the ones in 2018, basically had close to no play. And, well, it was basically going to be a new game in Standard anyway. But there's a lot more changes headed our way, and it kind of breeds further optimism into the thing that I've been saying these last few months in Hearthstone. The main thing that we've seen different from the developing team lately is that they are willing to make significant changes. They are willing to just make sweeping changes, and it's a breath of fresh air, as not just the Hearthstone team in the past. Really, Blizzard as a whole has been very conservative when updating their games. And this is a new side of not just the Hearthstone team, new side of Blizzard, and I think it's a very positive thing coming from there. So what are we talking about? We have the Year of the Dragon. It's being announced, and all the little things that come and not so little things that come with a new year of Hearthstone have been talked about and at least kind of mentioned and teased. So let's go over the list here. If you want to see it straight from Blizzard, it's below, but you're not here to see it from Blizzard. You're here to see it from Krip, so I got you. First thing, the really big stuff is new Hall of Fame editions. Every time there's a new year, they basically take some cards from the base set and or from the classic set and move it into, like, don't play this in Standard set, called the Hall of Fame. So there are 9 editions this time. 9. What? Alright, now most of these cards might not actually be from the classic and basic set, so we have a new way that we're doing the Hall of Fame. Let's do it with the cookie cutter stuff. 3 cards from the base and classic set. We have Naturalize, number 1. The idea behind Naturalize is Druids have a lot of very powerful tools, and they want to continue to give Druid very, very powerful tools, but each class in Hearthstone has kind of like a core weakness, and the core weakness of Druid is efficient removal. It just didn't have that, except for Naturalize. And Naturalize was so strong that it kind of broke the game a little bit. I kind of like cards like Naturalize being played in Druid, but I can understand how Blizzard doesn't want people to play Naturalize all the time. Naturalize honestly should be a card that Druid would get from like an expansion. It would get a new identity within that expansion where Druid can finally remove new things, or remove big things. And yeah, that's not a good thing to have in the classic and basic set. But I'll certainly miss the card because I love milling the crap out of my opponent. Doomguard. Doomguard has been a beloved card of Zoo decks for a long time, and then people really hated this thing when it came to Q-Block and a lot of the other things that have come in recently. So Doomguard's getting the axe. Blizzard doesn't really like charge minions, and in a class that's kind of like a board filling, efficient board clearing tool set, I can see how Doomguard is problematic, and after the Q-Block shenanigans of the last 2 years, I'm not going to miss the card too much. Rip in peace, Doomguard. Then we have Divine Favor. Divine Favor is kind of a big one. Divine Favor going out is kind of going to put a pretty big blow to aggressive Paladin decks, but here's one thing that I think people have grown to hate this past year, and that is aggressive Paladin decks. That's right. Turns out playing against it is not that much fun, and getting Divine Favored because you can't play anything other than like the please don't kill me this turn card in your hand, and then getting destroyed by Divine Favor, well, that kind of sucks. So, yeah, that's going away. Oh, what a shame. Now, the next Hall of Fame editions are the really big ones because they actually are cards not from the classic or basic set. This is the first time this has ever happened, and more importantly, they're very notable cards. BAKU and GENN are being Hall of Famed. Wow. Now, I basically said that BAKU and GENN are not going to be like a huge problem in the upcoming expansion because almost every card that's currently in BAKU and GENN decks today, they're from expansions rotating out. So yeah, we'll have a new wave of odd and even decks, but they'll be new, so whatever. I was game for that. But apparently Blizzard wants even bigger changes than just rotating the other cards. They want to rotate GENN and BAKU themselves. They're going to the Hall of Fame, so if you really hated odd and even decks with a passion, this is probably the best day of your life. Well, the best day of your life. Now, in addition to these cards, basically the rest of the Hall of Fame list is cards that only interact with odd or even mechanics, because why would you ever do that without GENN and BAKU? So it includes Gloomstag. Yes, this card actually exists. Black Cat, Glittermoth. Yes, Glittermoth actually exists in the game. We didn't just make up this card for this video. And Merkspark Eel. So a few cards that you might see from time to time, and a few cards that you literally have never seen before. So yeah, pretty interesting Hall of Fame list. It'll basically guarantee an absolute brand new constructed standard experience on the first expansion of this next year. Now, with that note, the next thing they talk about is how expansions will be themed together. We have the screenshot for the upcoming 3 expansions. Now, we'll probably do a separate video on our, crackpot theories and, things that people have said and noticed that have to do with these bubbles, basically. But I've played World of Warcraft a lot. I'm pretty decent on Warcraft lore. Basically, anything purple and runey and stuff screams Dalaran to me. It's like the Kirin Tor, it's like the mage dudes in Northrend. So that's kind of what I get a feeling from the first one. The middle one, I think, could be a lot of things. I saw some people talk about Ulduar, perhaps, which would be sweet. But, blue is kind of a universal color in Warcraft. So I would call that a pretty loose speculation. And the final third one really reminds me of some dragon stuff. It's really got that dragon feel with the flames from the top, with kind of like that, legendary epic color, maybe Sands of Time type of dragon stuff. Really screams dragon to me. So these expansions, rather than being kind of entities within themselves, they're going to be tied together. What does that mean? I don't know. I can only assume. So maybe if we have, for example, goblins and gnomes related expansion, the next one probably will include more goblins and gnomes, or maybe their enemies, or maybe something like that. That's kind of what I'm assuming, but we won't really know until these expansions start rolling out this year, which should be relatively soon, I'm hoping. Now, with these new expansions, we're going to get more content. We're going to get extensive new PvE content, which I love, and they're going to be purchasable with dollars or gold, which I don't really love. But the idea is presumably that it's going to be more content as a result of it being purchasable, which I'm really happy with. I would rather get much more content for PvE, because PvE content in Hearthstone is awesome, and have to pay for it. They have the pay with gold option, so I don't mind that too much personally, but we'll really get to gauge it once we actually can play the content. Now, as a result of it actually costing something, the rewards are actually quite significant. They touched upon, some significant pack rewards, including golden packs being rewards if you complete the whole thing. So, it's going to cost something, but it's going to give you real rewards. So, yeah, okay, I can dig that. I'm pretty happy with that. But of course, it's all about the implementation, and we'll see what that's like soon enough. Hopefully. Arena is actually getting some love as well. It turns out that Blizzard has officially announced that they are confirming that Arena is a real game mode. Okay, that was a joke, but seriously, Arena's been great over the years. It's been like the recipe for success, and they haven't changed it very much, except recently with a bucket system, which has been a very good change, by the way. Arena's getting even more significant changes on a regular basis. In fact, they say that twice an expansion, they're going to change the list of playable sets of Arena. So Arena will not just be standard, it'll be whatever batch of sets that they deem fun to play as a combination at this point in time. So what does that look like? The first batch is going to include Basic Classic, Naxxramas, Whispers of the Old Gods, Witchwood, and the first expansion of the upcoming year. So it's not a long list, which is really important because for us arena players, we want to see some consistency. It's good to see new things, it's good to see new cards, but we want to see some consistency. It's really important that a lot of decks have a specific card, as it basically leads you to learn to play around it or force it out of your opponent. So this kind of the strategy comes in. I never wanted Wild Arena ever again because it basically takes away all of that strategy. So this is kind of the compromise. We kind of get Wild Arena on a rotation system, but it's going to have few enough cards that we can actually play around some of them. So that's amazing. I really hope they nail this. And I think with the way that they've done buckets and stuff in the past, the recent past, that is, I'm quite optimistic that they will, in fact, nail this feature down very well. Also, pretty big change for us arena players. Arena wins will now count towards your golden portraits. Now, my understanding is that it's not retroactive, so yeah, that kind of sucks. But you know what? I'm sure I'm going to play enough arena to get all the golden heroes. This is also quite interesting because it'll give people a reason to play the less powerful classes just for this secondary reason. It's always very important to have incentives in a game that encourage you to play suboptimally. So for example, if you haven't played that much Hunter before, right now Hunter is absolute garbage in Arena. There's no question about that. It's so bad. But if Hunter is the only class you don't have golden and you want to basically have your games count towards that goal, you might actually be encouraged to pick Hunter. And this is really the meta disruptor. Now, I don't know if Golden Portrait is significant enough to really disrupt the meta in any meaningful way, but it certainly helps. And these factors, these meta disrupting factors, are really key to a healthy game overall. So I'm glad, while it's not a significant one, we just have another one out there. Now, there's a lot of small quality of life changes and stuff, and you get like free packs for rotating out. But among these small quality of life things, there are a couple that I want to identify because I thought they were pretty interesting. And just from reading the article, you might miss the impact of these things. So the first one is the Smart Deck Builder. So basically, in the past, we've had our fun when you're missing like a few cards from a deck and you use Blizzard's feature to recommend you a few cards. It's always like, so you don't have the best card in this deck. Might I interest you in playing this terrible 1-drop instead? It's like, no, Blizzard, I am not interested in playing this. So basically, they're saying that their automatic deck building feature is going to be a lot smarter. How much smarter? Well, they said that if you have all the cards in the set, it will literally suggest the highest win rate deck at any current time immediately to you. So basically, Blizzard's implementing net decking within the game, even better than net decking. Why look at stats when Blizzard will just tell you what the best deck is at any given time? I find that hilarious. I would be blown away if they actually pull this feature off with how they're talking it up. So I kind of hope they do, but if they don't, we'll kind of have fun because it'll probably be a horrible failure. Because the AI side of Blizzard hasn't really been all there in the past. So we'll see. It's going to be a really interesting feature if it works, and it's going to be hilarious if it doesn't. So that's kind of a win-win situation for me. The other thing is there's a new feature. You can use a random card back. Like, a card back is a random card back. So every time you play a game, you get a random card back from your collection. And this is a feature that I've been suggesting to them in private, I guess, year after year. Because, they keep putting in more card backs into the game. So, yeah, okay. If there's like 3 card backs into the game and, I get a new one, I'm like, oh, sweet, another option for card backs. But if there's like 30, 40, 50 card backs in the game and I get another one, well, I don't really care, So, there needs to be a system to kind of curve this out, and we finally have one. Part of the systems that I suggested, also, I think in private, I don't know if I made a video about it, but regardless, I'll mention it here. because maybe we'll get this in the future, I suggested a rainbow card back feature. So if you have at least 30 card backs, maybe you can get a random card back for each different card in your deck. That would be really cool in my opinion. And maybe that could even rotate. So if you had like 50, you'd get a random 30 out of the 50 to really see all the different random card backs that you've accumulated over the year and really show off to your opponent, which is really the most important part. Now, that is not a feature being implemented in this patch. I'm just saying that because that is part of the bundle of things I've talked about that I think would, and suggested the Blizzard, I think would really kind of emphasize the awesome aspect of the different card backs you could have. So maybe down the road we'll get that feature. But for now, that's it. Hope you guys are really excited. And again, I think these changes are actually crazy awesome. But even if they weren't, we can see that Blizzard is trying to make big change on the regular. And again, I think we're going to see a brand new version of Hearthstone, as I've said time and time again since the last few changes. So it's going to be some good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll see you guys next one.